Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling, and it's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, July 26, 2025, and then posted to all media channels on Sunday, July 27, 2025. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things help the channel. And we're still trying to reach out to the 30% of all the viewers of this channel that are not subscribed. Remember, it's free, and we're working towards certification, 100,000 views or 100,000 subscribers. So greatly appreciate support in that area. If you're new to the channel, we grab questions from the post section on our YouTube channel. Our office puts out a request for questions on Mondays. I think we had almost 800 questions this week. My wife, Linda, then goes through them, really whittles them down to a group of questions that we can manage here on the program. I answer them for you real time. And I think today we have 68 questions to go through real time. So, if you need to put questions out, look for the request for questions on Mondays on our YouTube channel under the post tab. We get asked all the time where to place questions. And if questions get submitted in the comments to shows or they get emailed to the office, none of those questions ever end up on these shows. So always kind of look for the post section. So wonderful again to be with everybody. Also, one last final bit of a housekeeping per se. If you'd like to join our Platinum YouTube membership group and actually participate in live streams I do on Fridays, Pacific time zone. Also gives you access to hundreds of videos in the archive. The join button for our Platinum membership is on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as the front homepage of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. So, without any further delay, let's get going on today's show. We're going to start off with a mediumship. And I talked to my wife about this before I started the show. We had a number of famous people pass away over the last number of days. The first one that came rushing through to me yesterday morning was Ozzy Osbourne. So I wanted to share something really quickly for you. I took notes as I was conversing with Ozzy. So question 68 starts off, does Ozzy Osbourne have a message for us? First thing he wanted to share was, Sharon, I made it, I made it. He was very emphatic to get that message across to Sharon. Now going on with what he actually told me directly here. They don't call me the Prince of Darkness anymore because I'm now the Prince of Enlightenment. Kind of funny to take that all in. All kidding aside, I was worried about many things in my life and created a great deal of havoc for everyone around me. But I can see clearly now that a great deal of this was my own thoughts, fears, and intentions. Everything creates your reality instantly. I just learned that, as he just says here in heaven. To my family, industry friends, colleagues, all the wonderful fans around the world in my life, I genuinely love you and could not have made this journey without you. You're all part of everything I have taken with me to the next life. To my family, I give you love and strength to move forward in life. Do not mourn my passing. To the millions of friends and fans worldwide, carry on as if I never left you, because in principle, I am now in all of your hearts permanently. When you think of me, raise a toast in celebration of life while you are still living it. Signing out, grateful and thankful, Ozzy. Wonderful guy. So wonderful to kind of spend a little time with him yesterday morning, and happy to share that with you. 67 in the countdown. Congress just subpoenaed both Ghislaine Maxwell as well as the Epstein files. Okay, will they actually get them? And is this the crisis that ends 45's term? All the files are going to be released very shortly from a number of sources worldwide. We talked about this before. There's digital copies worldwide of all these files and all the things that amount to what happened around Jeffrey Epstein. And actually, it's all coming out. Regardless kind of what happens here around deals or what's happening on Congress, the information is going to come out. And you're gonna see it very shortly here. Just even within a few weeks here, it's all going to come out worldwide, and it will be one of the major linchpins that brings down the 45 term, the 45 presidency. One of them. 66, will there be any changes made to the Supreme Court after 2028? I do see several Supreme Court justices almost like in a turnstile, leaving and more coming in, at least two or three here. And I do see as we get out to 2028, by that time, it looks like the Supreme Court is going to be expanded from nine justices to 13. I've been talking about that for a while. So you're going to see a turnstile of judges getting replaced, at least two or three here. And then there's also an increase in the number of justices on the Supreme Court. 65 in the countdown. Do you see a time in the future when police-related swatting will decrease dramatically due to the implementation of new technology? They'll be easy to be able to determine who the guilty parties are. And do you think laws will be put on the books allowing prosecution retroactively to anyone who has created police swatting events? As a footnote, for those not familiar with swatting, it's when somebody calls and say a false police report and saying that, there's a murder or gun violence happening, and the police descend in mass numbers on a house, let's say, and nothing happening there. Somebody made a false report. So in terms of this person's question, I already see right now artificial intelligence technology is coming to play in better understanding telecom systems and using GPS coordinates and cellular phone data, mobile phone data. There's actually new systems coming into place here. You're going to see this even within 2025, rolled out completely in 2026. Make it very easy for law enforcement to determine where calls are coming from and if there's a real threat. In terms of the other part of this question, will they retroactively be able to go back? There will be some instances where they can retroactively go back, but I don't see a lot of, let's say, lawsuits or litigation occurring. So whoever asked this question, they might be thinking about a swatting event that happened in the past. I don't see a lot of resolution to prior swatting events, but going forward here, there's going to be a lot of new tools that are going to make it very easy to determine if a swatting call is real, a danger call is real, and how to track it down to the people that made the call. 64, hello Sterling and your team. Around 10 years ago, I was going to my neighbor's house across the street. Something from behind me caught my attention. I turned around and there was a huge circular spacecraft sitting stationary in the sky. It was just before dusk with no lights or noise. I was mesmerized by it, and in a flash, it was gone. When I went to work the next day, I was starting to tell a coworker, and she saw exactly the same thing. What type of extraterrestrial craft do we see? This actually comes across to my team as an ET surveillance aircraft, one of really thousands that are around right now that are actually managed by the Palladian group. So there's a lot of this going on. Palladians have a lot of surveillance, a lot of motherships, a lot of shuttle ships going back and forth, but that's what you saw. And there are millions of these sightings going on worldwide. 63, do some souls who decide to reincarnate repeatedly keep choosing the same life path? For example, select the role of playing, you wronged me in the past life, so I'll get even with you in the next lifetime. No, this doesn't take place with any real regularity. It has everything to do with life path lessons you learned and what you want to learn, what you desire to learn going forward. So no, it's not you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you in the next lifetime. That actually is very much human-based thinking, right? Remember, on Earth, everything runs on love and fear, and kind of that ego challenge, or I'm going to get even, lives on the fear side. That doesn't exist in heaven on the other side. Good question. I like the nature of the question, but no, it doesn't translate to you got me, I'm going to get even in the next lifetime. 62, with corporations buying up apartments and housing to effectively control rent prices, what does the future housing market look like? Will we ever have affordable housing? The trends of corporations buying up real estate is going to continue. It's not going to stop. But what's interesting is the law of supply and demand is going to start to affect the market. So having eventually here, within a few years, an abundance of supply will help. Now, this is a fundamental fundamentals economics, supply and demand equation. But the supply is going to get to a point where it'll start to bring down pricing. But corporations will still be buying up at large a lot of properties, a lot of real estate. But seriously, it's all gonna level out in a way that's gonna make it better for, say, the average person to be able to afford housing or get into a rental, if that's part of what the question is here, getting into rental. 61. Hello, Sterling and team. Netflix has just put out a series called Missing, the story of Amy Lynn Bradley, missing from a Caribbean cruise on the Royal Caribbean International Cruise Ship Rhapsody of the Seas in late March 1998, while en route to Caraco, looks like. A great deal of mystery surrounds the situation. Can you help shed light on what happened to Amy Lynn Bradley? I see this as nothing more than fundamentally a simple drowning, like falling off a ship, falling off a balcony in the wee hours of the morning, and a subsequent drowning. Now, I have no familiarity with, is this a Netflix series you're talking about? I haven't seen it, but my team is saying this is like fundamentally, unfortunately, falling off the ship and a drowning. And even though it looks like maybe there's a lot of chaos around this whole event, maybe people are reporting they saw this individual at other places or that she actually made it to the destination. I'm not seeing that for my team. And unfortunately, it looks like it is a drowning. It looks like a lot of, let's say, hoopla was created around this whole event and mystery. But it looks very straightforward to me from what my team is saying. 60. Can you see if there will be a cure for type 1 diabetes soon? Yes, both type 1 and type 2 diabetic conditions by the year 2040. That's all due to genetic engineering going on right now using CRISPR technology. 59. Dear Sterling and team, I'd love it if you could share some information regarding why certain areas on the planet are considered more spiritual and have higher energy experiences. I am from Ireland and now live in Crestone, Colorado. It's located in the San Luis Valley, known for paranormal activity and even UFO watchtower sightings. What can you tell us about this particular location? This is an area that has a very strong magnetic energy center. Now, thousands of locations on Earth have very strong magnetic energy centers, causes kind of a whirling. A vortex is like in the center of that whirling energy. You can feel much more connected in these areas. I'm also getting that this may have been also been a ground that maybe native populations or Native Americans, whatever this is, may have had a lot of spiritual ceremonies in that area. That creates a residual energy effect. So the answer to this question has everything to do with magnetic energy center in the area, as well as, let's say, a lot of spiritual practices that were done in that area. So there's a residual energy, and that can feel very cleansing and very comfortable. 58 in the countdown. Wondering if you can address the topic of the presence of our spiritual guides. Are they with us all the time? How does that work with privacy, such as getting undressed to shower, etc.? Do they quickly dash out? Well, they're around us all the time, but they have no connection to human frailties. So this lives on the fear side, the ego side. If you're showering, are they seeing you? They see you, but it doesn't have the same principal impact it does on the other side. Not only seeing who you are, but also seeing deeply, like your soul energy. So remember, this is all ego lives on the fear side, and what this person is asking about, that there's no connection with them caring in any way about those kinds of, let's say, situations that you might feel uncomfortable with. They see you all the time, but remember, when you go to the other side, you start a brand new life. There's a lot going on over there, a lot to experience. They check in on you, but it just doesn't, they don't have a thought about the things that we care about sometimes as human beings in terms of our frailties or our ego. 57, can you please tell me if ICE is harassing or arresting legitimate U.S. citizens who go on vacation cruises, for example, to Mexico, when they leave the states at the ports or when they return back to the states at these ports? And further, is this a particular issue if they happen to have a Hispanic last name? Well, and we talked about this before. Yes, kind of all the above. ICE is going to be a real problem in and around, obviously, the U.S. for the remainder of 2025 as we get into 2026. Not just related to the nationality or the name, but in many areas. So yes, this is a problem for all destinations, going, leaving, coming back. into the US and will be continue to be a problem for the better part of 2025. I'm getting it's like regardless of your port of exit or entry, still a problem. Okay, 56 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling. I want to know if the conflict between Thailand and Cambodia will get much worse in the coming months or years. I actually get it's going to continue for many years, and there's actually this goes back, I guess, with some of the demarcation lines were there when there was like a French occupation of Cambodia or something. So this is a problem. This is going to be a bit of a war and a struggle back and forth for quite a while here. I get many months, could be even up to another year here before other like world other countries get involved with some sort of a jurisdiction and some sort of a make a call. I think this has a lot to do with the board, obviously the border, where the lines of demarcation are, and who has access to certain temples, something of that nature. But it's going to go on for many months here, at least another year. And then as other world governments getting involved to try to bring the parties together and create some other kind of resolution. Kind of reminds me of some of kind of like a world court, something like that. 55. This week, I asked my spiritual team to send me a sign that would indisputably let me know they were with me. I have made this request many times before, but never received a sign. However, the next morning, I noticed something protruding from under my sofa. I picked it up, and it was a metal pin of wings. I think it was one of my dad's pins from the 1940s when he flew B-25 Mitchell bombers. I thought I gave all of his pins away to my brother, but now I think I may have saved one for myself. I kept it in my bedroom, not in my living room underneath the sofa. Was this my spirit guide's guardian angel or my dad who put it there? It's actually all of the above. So your guides and angels thought that would be the most direct, distinctive way to get your attention, and your dad was involved as well. So it's kind of coming up with a perfect solution to say, look, she can't deny this. Not only will it confirm that, I was around as her father, but, guides and angels helping to facilitate that. So the answer is all of the above. 54, will the Netherlands be safe or will it disappear into the ocean due to the fact that this location is below sea level? In the long term, I see the Netherlands is going to survive. Remember, sea levels are rising 1 to 2 feet over the next couple of decades here, easily worldwide. But it looks like there's like scientific breakthroughs coming for the Netherlands. They'll develop brand new ways of kind of keeping the water at bay, stable. So I do see like a number of scientific breakthroughs coming through for that region. And I think they're already working on them right now, but looks like it'll be able to survive due to kind of the implementation of new science. 53, hello Sterling. Is it possible to get hugs from your loved ones in heaven when you're in heaven? Yes, absolutely. You can get hugs. They're like nuclear hugs. They actually, it's one of the most wonderful hugs you ever had. You really feel the presence of love and that energy being transmitted between the parties. Okay, 52 on the countdown. What is the distinction between a sentient being and a conscious being? Would a sentient being have feelings, emotions, and even an ego? So while these terms are used interchangeably, they're actually very different. When you talk about sentient beings, you're talking about the ability to be able to perceive feelings and different types of experiences. When you talk about consciousness, you're actually talking about the composite of everything that's in sentient, but also like an awareness of oneself and be able to pull together as a construct many other complex concepts in the world. So they are used interchangeably, but they're quite different. So you can think about consciousness as being a much more elevated way of moving through the world or moving through the universe, integrating a lot of your surroundings, if that makes sense. Okay. 51. With the recent dismantling of the Department of Education and additionally severe cuts to programs like Medicaid, will this lead to reductions in specialized health services to students in public schools in these states? If so, will these affect more red than blue states? Specifically, these jobs include occupational, physical, and speech therapists who provide services to students in public schools. So the overall cuts are going to be somewhat devastating through 2025 as we get on to 2026. It does not look to me like it's going to hurt, let's say, red states more than blue states or blue states more than red states. Looks pretty even across the board. So in this way, this is actually going to accelerate a lot of the desire to kind of get the right people back in office. But yeah, this dismantling of the Department of Education we're talking about here, uh, big effects and big kind of after effects throughout the better part of 2025 here. 50. Hello, Sterling. You've mentioned that extraterrestrials have been involved on Earth, school, for millions of years. Are there any extraterrestrials in the physical form on Earth right now? Yes, extraterrestrials exist in the physical form in many areas. Right now, they're either on government bases, military bases, or they're working inside very specialized secret government institutions to help around science and health and world peace. Yes, there are physical extraterrestrials around. And even if you include things like reptilians that are over in Area 51 in Nevada, yes, there are extraterrestrials physically on Earth right now. 49. Is there a direct relationship between chakras and the eight fundamental clairs? For example, if a chakra is closed, does that directly affect a specific clair, possibly make it inaccessible? So, it's interesting. All chakras have kind of a complementary clair. So, if you think about chakras, they are like energy centers on the body. So, if they're, think about like receivers, like a radio receiver. So if that chakra shut down, you're not susceptible, you're not picking up kind of those overtones. But every chakra has kind of a complementary clair. So if you think about, for example, like they call it the crown chakra, and I really use that term, but the crown chakra, a lot of people kind of refer to that as like a third eye. My team always refers to it as, it's the creative mind center, connects directly to everything on the other side. But yes, in a way, chakras are energy centers, or like receivers. And if you don't keep them open, you're kind of shutting down the ability to communicate. Okay. 48. Where are we in the AIMS strategy process? So, for those not familiar, back in November, my team called out a strategy that was going to be laid out here, the AIMS strategy. A standing for analysis. We had a lot of electronic interference going on in the election. I standing for investigation, M standing for movement or military, S standing for separation. So the answer is all four phases of the AIM strategy are actually in function right now. So they've all started, they're all moving forward in a parallel way, and we're moving towards separation rather quickly, very soon. And I noticed even if you watch some of the Simpsons cartoons, they're forecasting some of the same end of summer, September, sort of big upheavals around 45's administration that my team was talking about way back, sorry, November of 2024. 47, hi Sterling and team. Speaker Mike Johnson indicated he will be taking summer recess early to avoid voting on releasing the Epstein files. Will the information come out anyway? Yes, the information has already started to leak. It's going to be coming from a variety of sources around the world. Remember, a lot of the information that Congress is fighting over right now is actually already out in the world, and it's going to be released. So it's really not going to have a huge effect on the justice that's coming for 45 and the 45 administration. 46, hello Sterling. I just learned that Ghislaine Maxwell will talk with Deputy Attorney General with limited immunity. Is there any reason to believe the truth will be told, or if told, not covered up? So here again, I have to keep emphasizing that, there's games being played on all sides. And yes, Maxwell would like to get a lighter sentence. She wants a pardon. But notwithstanding, the information's out there. It's going to get released. And I also feel that Maxwell, I see, even has strong connections with many other billionaires worldwide that actually have it in for 45 in the administration, like because assets were seized, like yachts. So there's a lot of moving parts in this whole equation. But this person's asking the reason she'll tell the truth. She's going to tell the selective truth that she needs to tell to kind of get herself out of trouble. But the rest of the information will all the gaps will be filled in, and the truth is going to come out at large here. 45. Well, hello, Sterling. Pam Bondi recently fired the U.S. attorney who New Jersey judges had named to replace 45 ally Alina Habba. Alina Habba was supposed to step down as interim U.S. attorney for New Jersey as she was not approved by the New Jersey judges. Will Habba remain the U.S. attorney for New Jersey while 45 is in office, or will she leave or be removed? My recollection, it looks like Haba is gonna kind of stay in there, but I think that this was like a selection of another interim position. I think they were 120 days. I think Alina Haba was there 120 days. The replacement, believe it or not, was supposed to be an interim replacement as well. It looks to me like, looking at the time window, the timeline, we're looking at 45, his administration. Looks like Alina Haba will be around for that. And then once the administration starts to crumble, Alina Habba will then move sideways. It certainly will not be made the permanent judge there in New Jersey. 44, will there be a high magnitude earthquake and tsunami event near Japan this year? Yes, I see two coming up this year and another one early in 2026. So, yes. 43, are members of the Supreme Court mentioned in the Epstein files? Yes, and for this reason, they're trying to slow down the process. They'll try to do anything they can whenever they have an opportunity. Yes, there are several judges that are named in the Epstein files. We won't go into names here, but for entertainment purposes only. 42, if someone has done a great deal of evil during their lifetime, did they choose this life plan? If so, was it to teach others a lesson? Yes, that's actually the way the universe works. So remember, all of our life paths are interconnected. So everything you do, everything they do, spurs on lessons for us, and it always drives further thought, further action. So everything that happens here in this Earth school happens for a reason. It's all interconnected. And yes, sometimes the people are doing things that are considered crazy or evil. That's also effectively, remember, it's all the yin and the yang of the universe that then creates other opposing forces to try to help humanity. 41, will 45's nominee for the appeals court judgeship, Emile Bovee, be confirmed by the Senate? It does appear he's going to get confirmed. Yeah, I think it's going back and forth, but it looks like from my team, it looks like he will get confirmed. 40. Why did Kamala Harris cancel her planned 2-week vacation in July? I don't know anything about this, but I get it relates directly to some type of political plans or political trips. So it very much has something to do with like the business side of things. It wasn't a health concern, but has something to do with like political planning, something around that nature. 39. Did Virginia, is it Guffrey, really commit suicide, or was her death a result of foul play? I get it was actually a suicide. It was not foul play. You know, as unfortunate as it is, remember, suicide is always part of a life path, but I'm getting it was not foul play in this case. 38 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. My question is in regards to the Heritage Foundation's Project Esther, right, is a policy initiative presented as the national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. However, critics argue it redefines anti-Semitism in a way that conflates criticism of Israel's government policy and pro-Palestinian advocacy with anti-Semitism, labeling them as part of a Hamas support network. Will they be able to fully implement Project Esther before full implementation, which is projected to be by October 26? No, I don't see they're going to be able to fully implement this in any meaningful way. It looks like there's the people trying to push all this forward. But yeah, I guess they're already starting. I'm getting that there's some repercussions already. Maybe that's how they're stopping or stalling funding for universities and holding back on visas or renewal of visas or student visas. Yeah, but actually does not look like it's going to roll out in any full force. It's going to kind of die on the vine as we get out into early 2026. 37, 45 is putting together a bill that would take the U.S. off of the regulated paper dollar systems and place the U.S. on an unregulated digital currency. Do you see this happening? In short, it's very unlikely that the U.S. will completely get off of the regulated paper currency in the near future. There actually is digital currency, a global digital currency coming up, not to be confused with crypto. There is actually the global digital currencies the U.S. is going to get involved in. Using blockchain technology and a central clearinghouse, a central system, central banking system, but no threat here. I think they're asking take us off the regular paper dollar, put us on unregulated digital currency. No, it'll be a regulated digital currency, and there'll be the paper. Paper will be around for many years. You can figure like a good decade before that starts to then kind of die off because of the efficiency of the digital ecosystem. 36. Last year, Venezuela had presidential elections and the opposition to the dictatorship won by a landslide. The opposition, I guess, the dictatorship won by landslide. Dictatorship dismissed the results, proclaimed themselves winners, and incarcerated more than 2,000 civilians from the opposition ranks. When do you see the dictatorship fall and the true president come to power and restore democracy? I don't see you're going to see any major changes in that until like the year 2035. So there's kind of a long haul here of a lot of corruption in this area, I guess, around Venezuela. But it's like 2035, everything starts to loosen up and change. So that's not close. It's not right away. 35, is there any truth to belief that if we don't resolve our conflicts with certain people during this lifetime, that we are destined to reincarnate with them in a future lifetime to work things out? So no, there's no de facto standard that you have to repeat a life lesson with anybody. It's all free will on the other side. We've kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the show, but this kind of a little different spin on it. You always choose the life lessons and the people you want to incarnate with and what life lessons you want to learn. So no de facto standard that if you didn't resolve it, no, because actually as you go through a life review, actually can get resolution and the learning experience that contributes to your soul DNA as you go through that life review. So it's not beholden to have to repeat the lesson again with the same person. You actually can get through a life review and that lesson, that acknowledgement of a lesson as you go through the life review. So free will, choice. Some people do come back and do it again. 34 in the countdown. Edgar Casey was able to lie down, put himself in a trance, and come up with medical treatments and cures for patients that exceeded medical doctors' knowledge and understanding at that time in history. He saved a large number of lives, but when he removed himself from the trance, he had no knowledge of what he said. What was the source of knowledge? So he was a psychic medium that connected directly with his spiritual team. Now, he had a large group of birth angels and working spiritual guides. And actually, that's who he's communicating with. Remember, when you work directly with your angelic team, they also facilitate communications with the one source, the one force, angels, famous people from history, other doctors, knowledge from the future. So all these things were being brought through from his angelic team. Now, the only difference is that as time evolves here, many people will be doing the kinds of work that Edgar Casey did, but will not have to put themselves in a trance. They'll be talking to you real time. So that's kind of the evolution of humanity here, okay? 33, one night I was asleep, and as my husband was walking towards the bedroom, he saw a blue glowing light coming from within the bedroom. As he entered, he saw a blue glowing figure standing between the bed where I was asleep and the window. It immediately vanished. I was unaware of anything. What was the figure? What was it doing? In this case, this was a female family member at like the grandparent level for you coming through, checking on you. So this is a benevolent spirit, a benevolent soul. I know it can be startling and scary sometimes, but this actually, what I'm getting, this is actually is a relative of yours on the grandparent side. Looks like on the maternal side to me, a maternal side for you, not for your husband. So yeah, and I understand that, again, I think they were just coming in to say hello, check on you. 32 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. I'm wondering what will happen with alligator Alcatraz. Will the cruelty that is inflicted upon immigrants in this place be allowed to continue, or when will it be shut down, if at all? Yes. Well, we kind of touched on this in some prior shows. It's going to be going on for the better part of 2025 and 2026. But I do see that it's actually going to be shut down due to financial reasons. So surprisingly, I was seeing it might cost hundreds of millions of dollars to, let's say, maintain it annually, like $400 or $500 million. And that's what kind of helps seal its fate is that, economically, they say, no, this doesn't work. And unfortunately, they don't take it from a human rights perspective. It's more like economic perspective. Also, there will be a limitation of the need or requirement for that facility. So it's going to continue on for a better part of the year. And then to the financial aspect, we get down to 2026, they're going to start rolling it backwards. 31 in the countdown. Will CBS go back on their decision to cancel The Late Show with Stephen Colbert once the 45 administration is removed from power? No, they're not going to go back on the decision, but it's going to get much worse for CBS in terms of losing millions of dollars of revenue and ad spend and other sites of like access, distribution access for television stations and distribution. No, but they're not going to go back on that decision. By the way, as a footnote, I do see Stephen Colbert within months, could be before the end of this year, will have another show, but looks like it may be on another network or another type of a platform. Could be on a streaming platform. But there's another show coming for him. I don't, HBO flashed into my mind just now, but there's something going on here where there's another show coming up for him. 30. What are the differences between one's lower self and one's higher self? So these concepts are not exactly correct. I hear this all the time. Your higher self is not really your higher self, it's you. So actually, it's your soul, it's who you are. So almost like in the quietness of your mind when you're talking with yourself or talking with your team, that's you. I think a lot of people, conflate that and mix that up with, the higher self is something different. I got to tap into the higher self. Higher self is you. In the quietness of any space you're in, it's you. So there is no real like lower self, higher self per se. Maybe you could term it like the connected part of you, and the not connected part of you. But even that's a misnomer because you're actually always connected to your team, always connected to the other side. So one force never uses the term, lower self, higher self. It's you. 29. It is said that BRICS, that's BRICS, the so-called alliance of nations that stand for equality will prevail, and the US, Israel, UK, others that supposedly stand for world domination will collapse. Is this true? If so, what will that mean for us living in the US and when might it happen? Well, BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah, it's going to continue on, but it's not going to be at the expense of the U.S. or other nations and countries that are aligned with the U.S. So China is the dominant member of BRICS, and they certainly want to separate themselves from like the U.S. dollar. But I don't see tremendous success with BRICS, and not at the expense of other world nations and countries. So kind of put that in perspective. Okay, 28 in the countdown. Are Catholic saints real, and what causes them to be able to perform miracles uh, and have a stigmata and a perfume smell upon death? Well, I think they're defined like as a holy soul from the heavens, but many of them obviously are Homo sapien, highly aligned to the other side. So there's in that sense they could be called superhuman, but they're highly connected. So it's really kind of a human manifestation to kind of create these images around them, and in many cases, the miracles are ones that are somewhat mythical. So people have exaggerated them over time. I know some people have claimed over history they witnessed some of these miracles. Certainly, some people are very evolved, like healing capabilities. But it's more kind of the designation of like a holy soul walking on earth. But they really are Homo sapien, okay? But highly connected. 27, health policy research groups, including Peterson KFF Health System Tracker, estimates the Affordable Care Act will increase in cost by 15% in premiums and 75% in out-of-pocket costs by 2026. Approximately 4 million are expected to lose their coverage. Will any of this be reversed, or will costs just continue to spiral up? Well, yes, the costs are going to spiral up for at least the ensuing 12 months here, right as we get out in 2026. And then there's some sort of a resolution of like new funding coming in that helps reverse some of those costs and bring them down. So we're on a little bit of a chaotic roller coaster ride in many areas of the economy and healthcare and finance. But yes, it's going to go up and then it's going to start being resolved back as we get out into 2026. By the way, I'm just being reminded, I think a lot of these costs they're claiming are being driven by even some of the effects of tariffs, medical equipment costs, cost to service individuals. Yeah, okay, a lot of factors. 26, will cloning of beloved pets be allowed in the future using pets' hair, for example? Also, could genetic modification be used to remove cancer or any other disease that caused their death? Yes, all of this is coming out right now with genetic engineering, but it won't be actually implemented till like the year 2040. So a lot of the development, a lot of progress in the science areas, but it kind of won't be mainstream till about the year 2040. 25, will there be a high magnitude earthquake and tsunami event near Japan this year? And I think this is kind of a carryover. I'm actually I was getting a lot of it this week, as a matter of fact. But yes, two by the end of 2025, another one in early 2026. 24, how can you tell the difference between your calling on earth and your ego's will or desires? You need to rely on communication with your team. So if you haven't developed the clairaudient side, we all have it, then you're kind of functioning in the dark, right? So if you get the clairaudient side working with the eight fundamental clairaudience, you can ask your team, ask your primary angels and guides to step forward, ask them how you should focus your life, ask them where you should spend your time. Now, if you're talking with another psychic medium, it's easy to ask, what's my life path purpose? But yeah, you can't do this in a vacuum, is the answer. You actually have to rely on resources, in this case, spiritual resources, connection with your team. 23 in the countdown. Tulsi Gabbard and the Office of DNI have accused Obama of doctoring intelligence in 2016 in order to accuse Russia of election interference on behalf of 45. What is the truth about this matter? Will Obama get into legal trouble over this? Well, this is actually going to all blow over very quickly. I don't see President Obama having any big difficulty in this area. This is all a complete diversion tactic for what's going on around Jeffrey Epstein, the files, and Maxwell right now. So I don't see President Obama getting any trouble here. This is a big smokescreen, a big diversion tactic, analogous to saying, hey, don't look here, look over there. Okay. 22, can a person have a remote view without choosing to have one? Well, in a sense, if you have very active clairvoyant skills, right, ability to be able to see images, clairaudient skill, effectively you can remote view, but there's a science to it. So it's almost like being able to control the skill, control the gift. If you don't really work, let's say, to do a remote view, you're not putting all the skills at play and you're intentionally trying to do a remote view, it really can be very hard to discern what you're looking at. So there's intention behind doing a remote view. Can you accidentally do a remote view? Sure, could come through your clairvoyant and clairaudient senses, but probably won't be able to discern kind of what you're looking at. So yeah, a couple of factors involved there with skill level and intention. 21. Hello, Sterling. You often refer to the 3-decade reset from 2020 to 2050. Since 2020, it feels like we've been on a nonstop roller coaster. Should we expect the same level of intensity for the years ahead? Are there different phases within this reset, somewhat like the AIM strategy? So it will continue to be somewhat stressful, but in different ways. So every day that goes by, every week that goes by, there's millions of little micro resets going on, things happening in politics and science and world peace, leadership around the world. So it's going to be stressful, but a different way, but it's all moving towards a much better end goal. So yeah, it's stressful, but in a different way. Remember, everybody on the planet right now agreed to come down to help during this 3-decade reset. By the way, I'm just being reminded here, probably by the year 2035, people are going to start to feel a little easier about things. And oh, now right? Extraterrestrials are out in society. We can see how things are happening, new science developments, new health developments. So a little bit more of a breath of fresh air as we get into 2035. But remember that we're still then 15 years away from the overall reset by the year 2050. 20 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. I live in northern Utah where the Salt Lake is drying up. Well, the drought has certainly played a role. A great deal of the available water, by some estimates, almost 70%, is being consumed by farmers and urban growth. Experts estimate we only have 3 to 5 years to solve this issue. Do you see this problem being solved quickly in time? So I do see this is overall an effect of the climate change kind of disaster, we'll call it, that's going on right now. In about 3 to 5 years' time here, I do see there's kind of a turnaround here, this area of Utah. And it's going to take about a decade for people to really see around Utah here kind of some significant changes in this area. So looks like this area is going to be saved. Looks like good legislation is going to come up here to try to now turn the ship around, get this kind of drought condition under control. Good progress within 5 years. You're going to start seeing major results within 10 years in this area. 19. Do you see genetic engineering, CRISPR technology being implemented on actors like Michael J. Fox and Bruce Willis, and both their operations being successful? Yes, they're in fact they're going to be early adopters of genetic engineering technology. Going to be a little late in their disease sequence, but they're going to see some good results. But yes, remember we all serve a role down here, and many times, by the way, famous people they're expected to utilize their platform to help humanity. And I'll say that again: many famous people are not down here just for fame; they're down here then to have a platform to utilize that for the greater good. Bruce Willis, Michael J. Fox are in that category. 18. How do hybrids work? Are they born here? Are they sent here as adults? They're biologically created off the Earth aboard many types of spacecraft, and hundreds of extraterrestrial species work with hybrids. So they're actually developed many times. They come down to Earth as infants, and they're accessed into families through the adoption process, sometime by unsuspecting families and sometime by suspecting families. But hybrids come down to Earth by and large as infants, and through an adoption sequence is how they get into families. In other cases, less of the time, 10, 15% of the time, hybrids are actually deposited down here as adults to integrate quickly into certain areas of government or society to help. 17, the revelation of the existence of extraterrestrials who are highly psychic is against the teaching of religions like Christianity. Will there be significant uprising based on religious teachings against extraterrestrials? Will these fanatic religious groups ever die down? So many of the teachings, religious teachings, actually do not align with the way the universe works, the way extraterrestrials work, the way a lot of things work in the universe. A lot of religious teachings are grounded in human understanding and flaws of humanity. Yes, there's going to be a lot of upheaval as truth is revealed. Many extraterrestrial groups get very involved down here. Yes, but as full disclosure takes place, as more and more human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, realize what's going on, the truth comes out. People acknowledge the truth, and religious organizations, whatnot, will tend to be pushed to the side in favor of what really is the truth. 16, are psychics able to know if other people are psychic? Yes, well, genuine psychic mediums can tell with 100% accuracy who is using their ability, right? Because if you genuinely are using psychic ability, many times there's clairvoyance at work here. So you can see angels or guides or family members behind them. Yes, so 100% accuracy, another psychic medium can tell if, say, another psychic medium is actually utilizing their gift, or are they winging it? So yes, that is very true. Yeah. It's interesting. I was gonna mention here. It's interesting that decades ago, when I first started using the gift, not only this in terms of not just psychic mediums. I remember walking into a bank. It was the Bank of America in a lobby. I may have told the story before, but there may be 12 people online, but then I saw an additional like 50 to 100 people standing over these people that were other angels and guides and family members. So likewise, when you talk about whether a psychic medium can tell if, there another psychic medium is using a gift, you can actually see those elements or those spiritual entities around them and if they're connecting with them or communicating. 15, I have heard that a lot of farmers are having problems with processing their crops because ice removed many vital farm workers. Will farmers be able to get help required for their crops? No, not necessarily in 2025. We talk about this all the time, but as we get into 2026, it'll start to ease up and the pendulum will swing back the other way. Ice will ease up and a lot of farm workers will start coming back. 14, what happens to the soul of a person who experiences dementia? Does it become dormant? Does it go into a spiritual dimension with them? Dementia is purely a human condition, so it's not a direct soul condition. When you move to the other side, you move in your completeness of exactly who you are, your true, pure self. Dementia, all kinds of diseases, things you go through here in the Earth School are part of the Earth School. So you don't take dementia with you. It's like a complete fog is lifted from you as you move to the other side, and you're completely restored to perfection. 13, hello Sterling. I was struck by your comment last week concerning the Milky Way galaxy being equivalent to the head of a pin when considered in relationship to our overall universe. I found the comparison astounding. Are there other Earth-like planets that are being nurtured in the same way as Earth is now by extraterrestrials, angels, or guides? No, so Earth is a completely unique school. Now, there are other planets in many other galaxies that have various functions of Earth. They might have oxygen, they might have water, they might have other types of experiences that we hear on Earth. However, Earth is really one of the most unique schools in the universe. It combines a plethora of elements, learning lessons, sciences, animal versions, species. The complex composition of everything down here on Earth makes it highly unique. That's why so many extraterrestrials have been using it as a laboratory for millions of years. 12. Why do some individuals experience malevolent spirit hauntings? We lived in a house where we experienced this phenomena. We felt fear in the house and it would be freezing cold in certain areas. Sometimes we could hear angry whispers when no one was present. They never physically hurt us, but just terrified us. My poor 4 cats were always on constant alert. This confirmed we were being haunted. We moved out as soon as we could. Whatever spirits that were there did not follow us. What was this? So this is an example of residual energy in the environment. So a lot of the dramatic things happened in that environment you're in. That creates a residual effect. It's almost like a bomb going off, or you have a house fire and it burns all the walls and you have charring on the wallpaper, the paint. So by and large, there's a lot of residual energy there for things that happen. Also, notwithstanding, a lot of times spirits will come back to a location, not actually to haunt it, but because they're trying to get some sort of closure and revisit the location. And people then do call that a haunting. But there are many people skilled at walking into an environment saying, effectively cleansing the environment, saying anybody that's here, that's hanging out, causing difficulty, please move on to the other side. You never get trapped down here. So I want to make that clear. A lot of people think spirits get trapped. They come back of their own free will and they can leave on their own free will. Okay. 11. Hi, Sterling. Back in September of 1999 in Toronto, Canada, my brother and I noticed a strange object in the sky. It burned our eyes to look at it. The closer it got to us, the less I could figure out what it was. It was a football-shaped brown color, possibly the length of 5 cars, with 2 strange balls of light at the bottom that seemed operating it. It made absolutely no sound, disappeared over a ravine behind our house. Any idea what this object was? This was a Palladian shuttle ship. Remember, there are like thousands around right now, but a lot of people are observing these extraterrestrial UFO, UAP ships. By the way, the blinding or the burning of your eyes, that comes from the anti-gravity propulsion system. A lot of times it causes what's called a plasma effect around the outside of the ship, but that's what you're seeing in that case. You're seeing a Palladian shuttle ship. 10. Hello, Sterling and team. Your guides have indicated that various medical conditions will be cured by genetic engineering, CRISPR technology. How will the body fix the various symptoms created by the faulty genes? So, first off, it's not fixing symptoms, it's actually fixing the generic underlying disease at the cellular level. So, the way genetic engineering is being rolled out right now, and a lot of extraterrestrial groups are helping with this, is that the first advances will be first identifying, let's say, what genes are characteristic involved in creating a certain disease. Second phase is then how do you stall that? How do you slow down the elevation or the complete development of the disease? How do you slow it down? The third phase is then how do you turn it around now? How do you reverse the effects? So not just symptoms, it's the complete underlying disease at the cellular level. 9. Hello, Sterling. Do you see some kind of protection for authors from artificial intelligence downloading their work and creating stories in the style of the author? AI is basically stealing what writers have worked for their whole lives to create. Uh, yeah. So this question comes up all the time. But AI technology, first off, is going to be ubiquitous everywhere, like electrical power everywhere, like air, or like water. What's important is that AIs have become a tool that a lot of creatives will leverage off of. So, yes, there'll be some integration, obviously, of what other people have created. But remember, now creative people are going to stand on those AI platforms and create other types of things. So, and we're moving into another area now in the legal areas of being how to define rights management and how you protect creators. It's all part of an evolution of humanity, I want to assure you. But it's going to evolve. So a lot of creative people will start standing on the platform that AI creates and then create other new types of creative works of art in new ways that will eventually be protected. It's an evolution going on here. By the way, content will start being created much faster due to AI overall. Number 8, I was wondering, will there be any improvements in heart health for high cholesterol? Other than statins, which I do not want to take because they create problems with my aunt's muscles overall. Here again, like by the year 2035 for this particular ailment, there'll be genetically engineered vaccine. I'm not a doctor, but genetic engineered vaccine that will help with this high cholesterol. 7, I'm wondering what the future will look like for charities and fundraising. I see a continuation of many billionaires growing a heart, if you will, and compassion. And we're just seeing that now. Months ago, my team was saying billionaires are going to come forward, start to help out, start to fill in the gaps where some of the government programs are being taken away. But I do see charity fundraisers actually going to be heavily leveraging billionaires in society. So that represents kind of a tremendous part of like the 3-decade reset of a lot of wealth being much more evenly distributed. All this is coming, but I do see a lot of action by a lot of billionaires, either short term and even getting the longer term here helping. 6, for many decades, the U.S. government has catered to the needs of the wealthy and corporations while largely ignoring the needs of the people. This approach and related policies have funneled trillions of dollars to the top echelon, while the public at large struggles to meet everyday needs. Will there be a point where this dynamic changes and the government focuses on meeting the needs of people and interests of the population at large instead of billionaires? Yes, in fact, we were just talking about is all part of the 3-decade reset, but short term, over the next few years here, you're going to start to see a lot of billionaires helping outside of government mandated programs. Then you start to see new tax policies over the next 5 to 10 years start to re-level out here. Okay. 5, will scientists be able to make us live longer or extend our lives as younger human beings? In other words, will they be able to alter our DNA somehow so we can live longer and healthier lives as younger people? Yes, I mean, this is actually all part of the 3-decade reset. So by the year 2050, if not even a little sooner, A lot of genetic engineering technology will increase individuals' lifespan by approximately 40 years. Average lifespan will increase by 40 years. Don't worry about overpopulation. I know a lot of people, that's the next question. Well, people are living longer over, no concerns over overpopulation. Actually, the world will come into even to a better balance. And actually, a lot of underground cities and other types of applications for how Homo sapiens sapiens will live on Earth. Four, I live in a small town in Ohio called is it Chillicothe? Looks like. On August 10th, 2025, they'll be shutting down the Pixel Specialty Solutions paper mill, which has been operating spine job for over 800 people for decades. Do you see something else coming into the town to help with employment, or what do you see as far as the progress of, is it Chillicothe, looks like, Ohio? I do see the paper mill shutting down, but I do see like a new green technology coming to that area. So it looks like either like solar panel development, might be geoengineering coming. And it's actually looks like maybe plans are already being started. And I see there's some corporations going to be becoming investing as we get out of 2026, investing in that area. But it looks like new green technology. I'm picking up solar panel development. These, by the way, could be solar panels for residential, commercial, even solar panels for automobiles, because that's coming as well. It's like a green technology coming back in, essentially will replace the plant that's there. It's going to take a little bit of transition time here, but it's kind of interesting. I see this as kind of a natural evolution of that area of Ohio here. And number three, number two, and number one, I always take notes before I start these shows. So let's get into it. Number three, do your extraterrestrial friends have any direct messages they want to share for this week? We are working diligently to help humanity secure peace around the world, and we are finding more and more of humanity is actually tuning in to try and hear us and actually see us as we move around the world in the skies above you. Trust that we will assist in all ways and methods that make sense for humanity's future. Number two, what do you see coming up this week? Important information releases in the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell files, as well as movement towards a pardon for Maxwell. Now, don't be concerned. There's big troves of information coming out, and it won't be directly from Maxwell, but for other sources unexpected. Next, major earthquakes in China, as well as new earthquakes around Japan, creating another tsunami warning. New hostages released from Gaza, as well as new food sources and medications coming into Gaza this week from Europe to assist with the tragic circumstances going on there. So it looks like some big European push to get resources into Gaza. New health event this week for 45 that creates further concerns around his GOP base and MAGA supporters. Factory explosion in the Midwest of the U.S. It looks like it's an industrial accident related to something like fertilizer or something like that. Some other industrial explosion looks like in the Midwest, they're showing me. Number one in the countdown. Do you have anything your guys want to share? Remember, the longest and most important journeys of our lives start with the first few important steps. Do not ever analyze, not ever overanalyze, and allow yourself to take the first few steps in any important journey in life being considered, even if this amounts to just one step in the new direction. Your guides and angels are there with you always and will not let you fall. On that note, that concludes the show being recorded today on Saturday, July 26, 2025, posted to all media platforms on Sunday, July 27, 2025. As always, if you want to join our Platinum YouTube membership, engage in live streams on Fridays, Pacific time zone, you're welcome to join our Platinum membership. The join button's on the front page, front section of the YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, as well as the homepage of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. On that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.